I'm John,
And I'm Greg.
and we are your season 35 winners of the CBS reality TV show, The Amazing Race. We are so amped to be here. We're so amped you're here, and we are just incredibly grateful to have done what is, in our mind, the best season ever, but not because we won, but because of a great cast, because of great locations, because of great challenges, and everything else in between.
And,
Just so grateful.
and great finale, too. I mean, I had not seen, I know I was on it, so I'm biased, but I have
Yeah.
not seen a finale that close, that much of I guess, a comeback and like that stressful. I mean, I knew that we won. I was still like, do we make it? Do we do it? So it was a good fat finale party. It was such a fun party as well. Johnny and I, we or like the whole cast came out. So lovely to see them. We had a place in Brooklyn, like this place, Berry Park. Such a beautiful venue. All of our friends and family were there. Everyone was so supportive. A bunch of past racers came out. Survivor people
So
came out. Some
many.
Big Brother folks came out. It was
Yep.
so much fun.
It was so much fun, really well documented. I loved like all the different angles of the moment of us hitting the mat that people captured, and just a lot of love and support on Instagram,
So
random people
much.
messaging, just like overwhelming joy, overwhelming.
It really was. And yeah, that moment that we won, I mean, we'll get into the whole episode. We'll post some photos. You can even see it on our Instagram. But, John and I are next to each other. And I don't know, we keep talking about it, how there's very few moments in your life that you get to live twice, important moments that you get to live twice.
Totally.
And we felt like we lived it twice. Like, obviously, we lived it the day that we stepped on the mat. But then that moment that we crossed that corner and we came in, man, the whole place was lit. It was really, really cool.
Really great. Well, we'll get to that moment. We'll start out from the beginning, before all of this took place, when we find out we're going to Seattle, which we actually find out on the mat when we check in Ireland. He tells us that we're going to Seattle, so we're like getting mentally ready in the hotel room. But we do rip our clue. It officially tells us that we're going back to the States, and we get in our car, start talking to the camera, getting amped. We get to the airport, check in, totally fine. Get to the security where, it's Europe, so you just like scanned your ticket to get in. But it says that our ticket's invalid. So we look at the time board, and now all of a sudden our flight from Ireland to Amsterdam to Seattle is canceled, just completely canceled because of weather. And I think Greg and I were both like, so are we going to now look for new flights and just like try to get to the US before all the other teams, like hours before?
Yeah, but obviously, or luckily, we didn't have to do that. I mean, they found us a new flight, but originally our flight was going to stop in Dubai and then go to Seattle. So we were gonna go from Amsterdam to Seattle, kind of crossing the United States, so going west. But there was a flight that was going east, so we'd stop in Dubai and then go to Seattle, which I was really excited for because then we can get that little Dubai stamp. But didn't end up happening. But even before that, it was really funny because our cameraman, he went to go check in his flight first. He went to go check in first, like scan his little ticket. So he went up, he scanned his ticket. We were all behind, and he comes back. He starts pulling out the camera, and he's like, okay, let them go scan their tickets. And we were like,
Right.
wait, why? And he's like, trust me, trust me. He's like filming us the entire time. And as soon as it canceled, Johnny and I, yeah, we were like, all right, is the race on? Like, are we finding new tickets? Is it like the first to get to Seattle? So it was a mess.
Yeah, that was some great camera work, but unfortunately, Dave's cut didn't make it in. Didn't make it in, but we're letting you know. And so we ended up getting that new flight route, which stopped in Newark. Every time I stop in Newark now, I can't help but think of that airport. And when we got there, we were all trying to look for a map of Seattle. Like, this is the time to make sure that you have a paper map and you're able to just kind of get around easily, especially when we know that like Rob, Corey, Angel, and Garrett all had some experience of being in Seattle at some place in their lives. So we ended up finding a map and working our way there. And when we were waiting for the flight, we were also trying to get as many directions to any notable place in Seattle as we can in the airport. And it was a little stressful seeing the other teams just chatting up other people, getting their phones, looking up to the Space Needle, looking up to Pike's Place, looking up to the first Starbucks, just trying to get every permutation so that there was zero time wasted getting directions when we landed.
Yeah, I mean, we hit pretty much every possible notable place in Seattle, but there was always that fear in the back of your head being like, what if they got this one place that we didn't get? But I
Yeah,
mean, it happened to be the one place that we all first got, which was the Space Needle.
true.
But it was stressful in the moment.
It was stressful in the moment. We like blew the rest of our cash on like some pillows and some snacks. It just like final leg stuff, you know? Who cares? Who
I like
cares?
that. And I think usually, or what we heard was usually they have first class flights for that last plane ride.
We've seen that
So
done.
maybe we, I guess, I don't know if we originally had first class flights and then they got switched because
Hmm.
our flight got canceled. So maybe
Yeah.
we actually did have first class flights to begin with. But, you know, we just kind of stayed in regular coach. So yeah, we bought some Netflix. It was nice. It was a good little flight. It felt
It
good. It
was
felt good
nice.
knowing like this is the last ride. Like one more, then we get to go home.
Yeah. Although, at least for me, I think you a little bit like we were just gonna get in so late because of the delay that I thought we were gonna just sleep in a hotel when we landed in Seattle and start the next day because we would end the leg at like 2 a.m., 3 a.m. That's way too late. So I figured I'll just stay up, make sure that the jet lag lines up with the Seattle's time zone. Absolutely not. We hit that, and we see
No.
the camera people putting in their batteries. We're like, oh wait, we're going right now. We haven't slept in like 18 hours.
Yeah. I knew we were going to just start it because there's so much production that happens at Seattle at these places that there's nobody they can just be like, let's do it tomorrow. Like they need so many permits and so many different things. But yeah, I remember you and Corey were like, nah, we're gonna sleep in the thing. As soon as we got there, we popped a little caffeine pill and we were on the road.
We were on the road, and yeah, all the teams had the same directions. We start the leg on the top of that parking garage, and we just get to going. We get in the car and we see that little Space Needle figurine, and I think every team knew that route the best, and we ended up actually just kind of following each other anyhow. But I think we all had the same direction, so it was a pretty
Yeah.
straightforward leg. A lot of jitters though going into that, at least for me. I was pretty nervous.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, a lot of jitters going into it, but exciting jitters. But just seeing, because Johnny and I, we would always look at how many teams were in a room. Especially at the beginning when there was 13 teams, we were like, Dad, we gotta beat all these people. And then as
yeah,
soon as we started that last flight, we were like, it's only six of us now. Like it just
yeah.
seeing it dwindle down to three teams, you're like, this is it, man. This is what you've been working a month for.
I
So yeah, a
know.
lot of jitters, a lot of jitters.
Yeah. So we end up getting to the Space Needle, which, it looks like it might be a height thing, and we might even be doing some bungee jumping, which is like so cool, but like, just kind of gut wrenching to think about doing in the final leg. It's also the scariest heights challenge. Um, but thankfully we ended up just like being able to walk on the top, which was a little weird because the observation deck was like right below us. Like right below us, there were people not in harnesses, just being able to get good views. We just happened to be like one up above them.
Yeah, yeah, definitely was not as scary as I thought. And so I think I heard on the Purple Pants podcast, shout out Purple Pants podcast. Um, I think they said that it was like 500 feet up. The Space Needle is 500 feet up, which does not sound like a lot at all. Like it was
Yeah,
definitely pretty high, and it was a good view. But 500 feet, that's like what 50 stories.
that's nothing. Yeah,
Yeah, that's not a lot.
great views though. Like thankfully there weren't too many other tall buildings around, so just really lovely being up there. Just took, and it's one of those things where we were all there at the same time, and we just had to get like safety instructions and go in a line. So could just really enjoy it without thinking, oh, I absolutely have to plow through this.
And we were alone too because each
Yeah.
partner went solo. So Johnny went
Hmm.
first, and then I went. So it was one of the first times we were doing something alone but together. But it was nice. It was
Yeah,
cool. Seeing the mountains in the back were sick. I've never really been to
for sure.
Seattle, so seeing the
Yeah.
mountains and it was a sunset. I think we were supposed to be there during sunrise originally, but we were there during sunset, and it was a nice view. Some nice views.
Gorgeous, gorgeous. We all get our clues, end up kind of downstairs at the same time. Um, go to this glass house and find out that it's a scramble, which I think made our jaws drippity drop drop. We were both pretty familiar with this from season 34, but like just never would have expected this for a finale, which turned out to be really entertaining. Very difficult for us to know where we were going, but as a whole, I think it was just exciting, and we just like had all these Americans swarming all three teams with their cameras, and just a different kind of energy being back in the States compared to doing this in Thailand or doing this in Slovenia.
Yeah, I remember. I think last season, Derek and Claire's season slash you know everyone else. I think there was at some point where they were in Nashville, and like it was their final leg. I remember it was Michelle and Lewis. They were trying to get directions, and everybody was kind of swarming them, being like, "Are you on the Amazing Race? Like you're in the Amazing?" Everyone's like cheering them on. It's so nice being in America, where like everyone knows the Amazing Race, everyone knows what the stress level is. So we
Mhm.
definitely felt that in Seattle afterwards. Everyone was kind of wanting to help us, and like there was no shortage of help or English. Felt good. Felt good to
Yeah.
be back in home.
Felt great. And once we got the directions on Google Maps, we started drawing it on our physical map. And we ended up doing what I think was the right decision, which was to go from our origin outwards. So starting with the closest place and then moving away, just in case the final challenge was going to be farther south. So we started north and made our way south to the challenges. And if we ripped a clue and says, hey, go south to your final challenge, then we just keep going. Versus what Rob and Corey did, which was to go all the way south and then work your way back north. Because in the event that you need to go south, now you're doing the same trail twice. Versus us, where we just have to go down and up anyhow. We were going to have to do it anyhow.
Yeah,
So worked out in
yeah,
our favor, worked out fine. And we find out, yeah, we're going to start with glass blowing, which we both have had no experience with, but have seen in Italy, like people doing it. And that's like the extent of it. Amazing Race, you're like, yeah, clenching for any amount of relevance to the task as possible. So that was our only experience. We got there first. And yeah, we just kind of started listening to the instructions, which we're good at listening to the instructions, but we're good at listening to the instructions one time, and only one time. So
yeah,
could have done a few more reps there.
yeah. And our instructor, he was almost begging us to look at it again because we just kept getting it wrong. We kept getting it wrong. And our instructor was like, "Are you guys sure you don't want to watch me do it one more time?" Johnny and I were like, "No, no, this is the one. This is the one.
Yeah.
let us be." Because it took so long. It was maybe like 5 minutes of him,
Mm,
heating the thing up, putting the sprinkles on and blowing
yeah,
the glass. So it was a long time to just get maybe like one piece of information.
for sure. And it didn't help that we were getting it wrong in different ways. Like we would get the right shape, we would have it so it didn't crack, but then it would be the wrong size. And then the next time it'd be the right size and it's still the right shape, but then it's cracked. And so we're like, oh, well, we've gotten that element right before. We don't need to learn how to do it. We just need to do it right this one time and have all of them right at the same time. But it felt like so many tries. They said like 5 tries or something. That was maybe 5 tries of getting it all the way through, but we like bailed halfway through so many times. The spinning
So many
while
times.
blowing, and you could see like I'm terrible at blowing balloons, and I'm just like putting my all into that, like as much air as possible, and it still was like not expanding. It was really tough.
Yeah, I remember you doing that too. Yeah, the vein popping out for an air to that. Yeah, it was definitely tough. He made it look very easy. I mean, the way he was just like slinging that molten glass around, it was like he was like a lacrosse player. It was really impressive. But hey, respect on the glass.
Respect
Respect
on the
on the
glass.
glass.
Yeah, I'll pay a pretty penny for it moving forward. How much work?
And it was, shout out to our instructor. He was great, and a lot of it was our fault. But there was at one point where we were blowing the glass, we were getting it big. You kind of make that bubble to get that shape. There was at some point our instructor was like, "Okay, you're good. Like that's you're good." So Johnny and I stopped, and then we went to go get it checked, and it was too small. And we were like, "Wait, hold on a second now." Our boy told us we were good.
Yeah. And now he's asking to do the demonstration for us again. You just lost our trust.
Yeah, but I will say, some people are like, "Oh, like, what do you like about the show? What are you proud of?" I am proud of our attitude during that because it was the
Mhm.
first time where we were in dead last, and we were in dead last during the most stressful episode. And like,
Yeah.
of course, we were like, "Oh shoot, like, are we gonna lose?" Blah blah blah. But like, we kept a good composure. I remember us always being like, "All right, this is the one. This next one's
Yeah.
the one." So
Yeah.
I'm proud of us for that. That was great. That was
Yep.
a really good job.
Yep. Really proud for that. And there were just so many steps, but we got through it. Got through it after like 45 minutes after Joel and Garrett had already finished, which when you say that out loud for a finale or really any episode of The Amazing Race, that's a lot of time to lose.
It's
So
a
at
lot of
this point,
time.
we're like anything can happen, but the odds of those types of things happening are low. And so it's not impossible. We just knew we had some time to make up. And
Yeah.
we then went on to Grunge, which wasn't too much better. We get there. Thankfully, both teams are there, which is really nice because then you're like, okay, I have eyes. This is the first and last time we have eyes on all teams until we hit the mat. So was really grateful to see that they were so busy on that place.
And working on it too. I mean,
Yeah,
trapeze we'll get to it, but we show up and they're already finished. But we show up to grunge. I mean, Joel and Garrett, who left 45 minutes after us, were still there and still kind of working on it. So we were like, okay, we're
yeah.
still semi in this. We're just a little bit behind now. But
Hmm.
then that stinking amp, man. I mean, they showed it like we were looking for it for like, 45 minutes. I mean, it probably took what, 10, 20 minutes to find it?
Maybe, yeah, yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. But that was, every time Johnny and I can't find something, we're just like, oh, it just must not be here. Like, you
Uh-huh.
can't find it. Like, production must have forgotten to put it there. But I mean, we look like foolish children looking for that amp.
Foolish children, like the biggest dun, 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 dun you could ask for, like right under your nose, right above your nose, right at your nose. So
Yeah, that was a big dun 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 dun.
big moment,
But
and we
we
could
found
just
it.
we found it. We had to lug the equipment boxes outside in order to like search through them, and I think that was just physically taxing. I ended up asking Rob and Corey for the power cables, and yeah, I guess they just didn't know it had to be plugged in, but they found it while we were out and about, which was really unfortunate timing. The other thing is
Yeah.
find the amp, um, the preamp on the top, the lid, but we also couldn't find the power cable in that smaller amp. It was like tucked in the amp. That was the thing that also cost us some time, but they didn't show it for whatever reason. I liked our band though. Hot take. I liked La Fonda the most.
LaFonda was good. I mean, when you're riding on a high of okay, we just finished this challenge. Shoot, they could have played heavy metal, like deep country. I would have been banging my head for it. I was just in such
Mhm.
a good mood.
Yeah, such a good mood. And got out of there third, last, and now we know like we need to have a pretty squeaky clean record moving forward if we're gonna have a chance in here. And we had that with trapeze. We drove down the trapeze. We got a little dicey direction wise down there. It just was really quiet, really dark. But we saw that and saw Joel and Garrett were still working on it. And we came in hot. We came in just ready to learn. I wish I came into like my college classes as ready to learn as I was at that moment because we were just trying to plow through.
Yeah, and pulling up and seeing Joel. Well, pulling up and seeing a physical challenge was definitely one of those things that we needed in order to catch up because we knew that Johnny and I
Yeah.
could catch up a little bit there. Pulling up, seeing Joel and Garrett still working on it as we're getting, like they were still trying as we were getting our instructions. Part of me is like, okay, I feel like this might take them a while, but shout out to them, man. They banged it out before we were even done with our instructions. So I was really impressed. But we knew we needed to get it done quickly. And so, I mean, I think the showed Johnny getting it once and me getting it twice. But in reality, Johnny got it twice and I got it three times. But we were like, okay, we're still in this, right? Because that probably took us maybe 20 minutes. So in our heads, we are like, okay, we're 20 minutes behind them.
Mhm.
We have to murder this last challenge.
Yes. Yes, we have to murder it. And the directions to get there. I just remember like after getting out of trapeze, stopping, asking a guy for directions. And like at that moment, like you so desperately want to just chicken scratch down the directions and go to the next place, but you still have to treat it with the most amount of attention as you've done in every other leg. So making sure you're writing down the kilometers, making sure, or miles in this case, or make sure you're writing down every turn, every exit number. And I think we did that really well. And so that when we got to this rando like airfield, it was in the most random place. That was not Seattle by any means. We like had enough infrastructure in our notes, in our directions to say, okay, we're going the right way. Let's just keep believing. And somehow we found it. We like turned
Honestly,
a corner and was able to find it. Oh,
honestly, I remember we started to get a little lost towards the end where we were like,
yeah.
we don't know exactly where it is. And then we were kind of just flying by the seat of our pants. And then we ended up finding it, which I don't know. It was so windy and turny, it took us a little bit. But the hard part about this leg as well is that since we got in so late, it was maybe midnight at this
Yeah.
point. So there were not a lot of people out in the middle of nowhere suburb of Seattle. So
Yep.
honestly, it was the amazing find directions because you just
Yes.
needed to find a person in order to get directions.
That's exactly what it was. That's such a good point. And on the drive there, I remember then getting in my head a little bit because it had to be a memory challenge and we had to do it well in order to beat Bill and Garrett. And maybe Rob and Corey, who might be there. And Gregory was definitely calming me down a good amount because I was just like, hey, third's great. Second would be awesome. But it ended up
Yeah,
being,
yeah, you never know. You never know. I just remember there was one season with all the competitive people, like all the I don't know, it was like
yeah,
a
season 31.
yeah, season 31.
Or season 30.
And
Yeah.
season 30. Okay, yeah, season 30. And the last challenge was a roadblock of a memory challenge. And
Yes.
that was like the tile challenge where you can see Phil right behind you and everybody's there and everybody's solving this puzzle, except this one was a puzzle. Everyone was solving this puzzle together. So I thought it was going to be one of those because that is the most stress that you can put on a person. Like, one person solving a memory puzzle with Phil right behind you. So I just remember the entire way there being like, Johnny, it's gonna have to be you. Like, you have a better memory. Like, it's gonna have to be you. But so happy it was a detour.
So happy we
That
weren't
is
together because there's a lot of
so
pressure having the ball and the buzzer's about to go off. You got to make that 3-point shot. Oh my gosh, it's a lot to ask
oh,
from anybody.
oh from anybody.
Yeah.
But it was a detour. Yeah, we pull up and Joel and Garrett, I mean, they are done. Like they are,
Mhm.
it looked like they're done. We were like, okay, well, they're gonna finish, and we're gonna get second. We didn't see Robin Corey, so we're like, okay, second might be all right, but let's put our heads down and go. And I remember I start reading the directions, and you just start putting up kayaks, and we would just get to it.
We just got to it. And the thing that they didn't show in the directions for the challenge, where you were also supposed to match the name of the country with a photo of the pit stop on these oars. You attach them and then put them alongside the kayaks from that leg. So we were also kind of doing that simultaneously. And it was kind of nice that we were, I guess, verbally, and this is, I guess, why they put us on the show, because we're able to verbally talk through what we're doing. And we're just like, okay, this was day 2 in Thailand. Oh, yeah, this was the Hay Challenge. And then they're able to put in those little memory clips. If we had just done that in silence, I don't know how they would have been able to put down that memory lane throughout.
And it would have been in silence too, because as soon as the camera person would have told us, like, okay, so what are you thinking? Nothing.
Yeah, shut up, shut up.
We are like, yeah, we are locked in right now. Yeah, but it was I mean, it was low key. It was a fun like, if there was no stress, ball wasn't on, the game wasn't on the line. It was a pretty fun challenge, right? Like kind of going back and being like, oh yeah, this was the Pomelos. Oh yeah, this was the the Biltmore. It's nice little trip down memory lane.
Yep. But this is why you take notes. So Gregory and I took notes on a lot of things throughout the race. Not only like the order of the stuff that we did during the day, but as you've seen on previous seasons, the currency that was used, the flags from countries, who was at the pit stop for each leg. So we kind of studied that throughout, but we did not write the exact same name of all of these different challenges. Thankfully, we did enough process of elimination. And when you're living this race, you're thinking about it constantly, like the day before, the next day, what you just did. So thankfully, I think we were familiar with our itinerary enough that we didn't have to second guess too much.
We got very lucky because Joel and Garrett, I mean, they murdered that challenge. They killed
They
it.
murdered it.
They just had that
Killed it.
one switch. And I didn't even know until we watched it that, like, there was at some point where they said, like, oh, maybe like these two should be switched. So like they had it. They really had it. So
Yeah.
we got saved by the definition of saved by the bell.
Saved by the kayak. And the thing is, you would hear them go for the check and say check, and at that point we are just waiting, just for our lives. Yeah, waiting for our Amazing Race lives. And when you see the judge just kind of walk away, you think, okay, we got 2 more minutes, let's keep it going. And I think just that little jolt of energy kept us going too. And I'm sure that also causes a lot of stress onto that team too. I know, like, I would absolutely get flustered if I was in that position.
Yeah, and when when John and I went for our when we went for our first check, you never get it right on the first check. That's just not what happened. So we went for our first check, and as soon as the guy was looking at our kayaks to make sure they were right, John and I were just talking to each other. We're like, okay, just start looking now.
Yes.
Just start
Yes.
debugging now and looking to see what's wrong. And then when he said yes, I remember I wanted to be quiet to like not give Joel and Garrett any like oomph, any fire under them, but I just screamed, "Let's go!" That was so fun.
It was so fun. I did this like jump. I remember jumping for joy, but I was doing like a hurl in track or something. Just a lot of physical and verbal emotion there. And just knowing that like this was the last one, and whatever we were going to do was now just like get to the pit stop. And we were just on it. Like that leg, we were pushing. But when you're in first and you just have to get this last thing done, that's when you are so wired and nothing else matters. It's like the most tunnel vision I think either of us have had in our lives.
Oh, yeah, just getting directions there. Because then we like as we were leaving the place, with the kayaks. Again, this was maybe 2-3 a.m. at this point. Nobody on the road in this middle of nowhere Seattle town, and we found one person. She like stopped at a stoplight. We like ran up to her. We were like, "We need your phone. We need your phone." And I don't know. John and I were talking about it afterwards. Well, it felt like we just snatched it out of her hand. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, when you first rolled up, you were like, "Hi, I'm just curious. We're just curious to see how we can get to this direction." And that was like our method throughout the race. And at this point, you were right. And when we got at the car, and I was just getting the phone, I think she was kind of resistant for these strangers to like be taking her phone. I took it out the car, just started writing it down next to you. So you got to do what you got to do. Like manners aside,
Well,
she
I forgot
understands.
who it was. She does understand. I forgot who it was, Joel Garrett or Robin Corey, but they went to the drive-through. They
Joel
found someone
Garrett.
in the drive-through. That was good because they're not going anywhere. Like, where you gonna leave your food? You gotta
Yeah,
wait here and give me directions. That was smart.
yeah, that was brilliant. Yeah, and at that point, we have our directions, and yeah, like you said, it's the directions of a lifetime. So we were just taking it one turn at a time. But when we get there, yeah, I realized I put into Google Maps the name of this park, and it's a park. Parks are big. I didn't put in the name of the actual like mansion that we were supposed to go to, so that was a spooky moment rolling up. And we went a little slower, kind of driving. We got to the destination, like pretty much if you were using Google Maps, it would have said you are here. And now we're just like driving in the dark, circling this park. We found like the first kind of gate going in, and thankfully saw the parking that we were supposed to do. But I'm telling you right now, there was a car in front of us that looked exactly like ours, exactly like Joel and Garrett's, exactly like Robin Corey's. And so at least I was pretty convinced that, oh, Joel and Garrett, they didn't ask for directions. They knew how to get here. We're in second place.
Yeah, and there's at some point where I'm like, Johnny, what does it say? Because you just keep getting on that car. You're like, Gregor, there's another car here. Gregor, there's another car here. I'm like, Johnny, where is the parking? Like, we gotta go. But it did look like another car was there, and so that's why we came up sprinting. I remember they
Mhm.
were like backpacks off, just full speed, just
Yeah,
like, okay, maybe they're still running to the mat right now, and we could like
yeah,
somehow pass them. Ooh, whew, that was scary. That was nerve.
yeah, yeah.
But when we turned that corner, man,
Mm,
we turned that corner.
it's gone. And the thing is, like, at least for me, like the first thing that alerted us that oh we're in first is when people started freaking out on the line. Like the rest of the cast started just cheering hard, and before you even saw the mat, like that energy tells you wow, it happened. We did it. And then, yeah, you see Phil with open arms waiting. And yeah, just like a lot of excitement. And he said it. This is the most excited he's seen a team. I think that is very true. We were so amped. And we're just very emotionally joyous people when this kind of stuff happens. So,
I will say, I think there is a difference between like black people celebrating and not like
yeah,
non-black people celebrating because we're very like physically like
yeah,
like just a lot of body movement because we went back and we looked at past winners because Phil's like this is the most excited we've seen someone. We looked back and then everyone kind of just goes like we watch like flipping it. Johnny tries to do like a 360 spin to land on the mat, like just
yeah. If you watch it
so
slowly,
funny.
I'm spinning in the air and then fall. And this is after me running, jumping, and then falling when we first come through. I do a plane when Phil's telling his speech. I give a little clap like this. They don't even show me running around the mat doing like a circle around Phil like a dog. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, you remind me of like a little kid. Yeah, like your celebration reminds me of like like in a genuine way, just like a little boy celebrating. Just like,
Yeah. Yeah. How can you not?
oh
You win the
man,
amazing race. What is it?
and it was just a sigh of relief too, because I mean, yes, we won, but also it's just like it was over. I mean, that was like 32 days of just
Hmm.
constant thinking and constant planning and constant just stress. It's just oh, it's over, it's done, it's finished,
Yeah. A lot of
man.
relief there. And after Phil kind of checked us in and Joel and Carrot came up, we had a little bit before Rob and Corey. And yeah, Gregory and I, while the cameras were down, just looked at each other and we were like, it's done. It's done.
It's
And
done. It's
and it
done.
was just a lot of peace with that too. And yeah, Joel and Garrett were right on our tail, right on our tail. Like everything that you saw us say to Phil was all we had time for. They put in every
All
little
we had
second,
time.
then Joel and Garrett came up. So incredibly close and incredibly good competition. I think like it's got to be tough, but it's also just like really respectable at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking with some of the teams afterwards. I mean, obviously everyone knows Robin Corey, Joel and Garrett. They're tough competitors, but they're so gracious. I mean, I was talking to Joel and Garrett after during the finale, and they were just saying how like the first thing that they thought when they showed up to the mat, we're just like we're so happy for them. Like this is how it was meant to be. they're just the sweetest dudes. I mean, that's such a selfless thing to think about. It's like, oh, I'm
Mm.
happy for them, like as you're pulling out. So just couldn't be more grateful for those two teams, and just the grace that they gave, and how hard they fought, man. I mean, that was such a good finale. That was
Yeah.
such a good finale. I mean, we know at least we know Rob and Corey's going to be back at some point. We're going to see the hope. They're going to try to
100%.
slot them in next season somehow.
Somehow they already like have the cast. They're like, oh, Robert Corey did too well. Like this is all
Wait.
star now. Yeah.
Yeah. They're like, we're just going to keep this momentum going. This is going to be an all-star season now.
Yep.
Yeah. So it was a good time, man. It was a good time.
It was a good time.
Again, the finale party was incredible. Living it back. Thanks to everyone for coming out. I mean, we had people
really
showed up. People
Mhm.
showed up. Thanks for all the cast for coming out too. I mean, that was
Yeah.
I mean, people flew from Wyoming, from California, from Seattle, from from everywhere to be there.
Yeah.
So,
And we had 24 out of 26 cast members, which is insane, especially for the season that has the most amount of racers ever. And the only reason we're missing the other two is because of work and because of having a baby. So I think just the people coming out was awesome. And when we hit the mat and checked in, it's like, the dust settles. We do our final exit interview. We go to the hotel. It's like 4 a.m. We get our phones back after over a month, talking to our families, talking to our girlfriends. And then it was really kind of like getting out of prison. They like give you a little Ziploc bag with your phone and your wallet, and they say, all right, you're good, you're done. But there's no one to tell you where you got to be, what you got to eat, or what time you got to wake up. So we just got this Uber to the airport, and we're just like out in the wild with this big secret that we're going to have to keep for like 12 months. So I think that moment was just also really memorable, getting out and just now entering another phase of the race in a way. And now that the episode's out, we're like in the final stage. In the epilogue.
Final stage. Yeah, this is the final stage. This is the part that everyone knows. It was really fun to see all of our friends' reactions because, we had our reaction when we first did it. Took like a few days, few weeks, like a month maybe to process it, to be like, wow, we won the Amazing Race. That is insane.
Yeah.
And so seeing our friends kind of go through that process now, it almost feels like, we went through it in no way traumatic event, but we went through a traumatic event and we like handled it somehow. And now we're like helping them handle it, being like, okay, yes, we won the Amazing Race. What does that mean?
Exactly. What does that mean? Yeah. And we'd like to do some more, just like giving more insights onto like our process for where we got and how we did in the race. And so would like to talk about like what we packed and our application video, what we did well, what we recommend, and maybe even help review some stuff in the future, some amazing race in the future. Because now that we're in the community, again, the community showed up for us. So we kind of want to give it back and stay involved.
Certainly.
Yeah.
Certainly. Well, this was fun all season, man. This was fun. Got that. Johnny and I just, after these podcasts, him and I talk about the race, and then we'd usually just catch up about the week for like an hour afterwards. So we're going to have to keep having these catch-up sessions.
Yeah. So grateful for the race. So grateful for the creators, for the producers, camera people, audio people, people who helped us in the hotel in LA, people who helped us in the hotel on the road, just like everyone involved. Such an awesome season and a real honor and a privilege. Real honor and a privilege.
Truly.
All right. We'll catch you on the flip. Thank you again. Feel free to continue to follow us. I'm at Franklify on Instagram. Gregory's at The Real Greg Franklin on Instagram. We'll keep doing stuff on this channel, and we'll catch you on the flip. We'll catch you on the freaking flip.
Catch you on the flip. Stay freaking smooth. We'll catch you guys later.
Peace.
See ya.